Soldiers dying in Ukraine, lawyers saying that SEAL clubbers shouldn't get doxxed, and interfighting between TV networks. This is the Daily Freakout for Thursday the 28th of May 2026. I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm grumpy as hell. Good morning. I don't know. Life just does stuff to you and you feel grumpy sometimes. And today, right now, in this moment, I'm a bit grumpy. So I hope your day's doing all right. I hope you're feeling good. I hope whenever you watch this in the future, because we know that people don't watch it live. We know that people don't watch it in the next 24 hours. We know they don't watch it in 48, 72, week, month. Doesn't matter. They don't watch. So if you're watching this, you're one of the absolute unique individuals that thinks for yourself and doesn't do what mainstream media tells you to do. Good for you. Well done. You're awesome. No, not that one. How about this one? No, that's not. That's what I was hoping for. Anyway, we've got a few news articles to talk about today. We're going to check out some local art that I found during the day yesterday out on the foreshore. And we're going to try to have a good time. We're not going to listen to any of Chaz and Dave because it keeps coming up with a copyright material thing on the YouTube. And I don't know if that's really good or bad, because it says, oh, you can keep using it. Like, they're not going to, it's not a copyright strike or anything like that. It's just, oh, they've found copyrighted material. And there goes my alarm. And everything's fine, like, don't worry about it, kind of thing. But at the same time, it also says, if you ever make money, this video probably won't make any money. And it's like, okay, well, that's actually a really good way of doing it, in that the average person can throw up onto YouTube a video and use music. And because they're not making any money, that's fine, because they're not getting many people to actually watch it. But in the future, who knows what could happen? You never know. So I'm not going to bother with more Chaz and Dave. Even though we've got side 2 to listen to. I think it's much the same. But if you do watch all the way to the end of this episode, you can win Chaz and Dave. Chaz and Dave's Knees Up, the Jamboree bag number 2. Let's get into it today. Let's start with some depressing stuff. And I haven't... Oh, jeez. I am so professional. I pressed start on this a couple of times and hadn't even turned on the mic, of all things. The microphone. You'd think that would be kind of important to a podcast. Whether it's a video podcast or a... what's it called podcast? An audio classic style podcast. It doesn't matter. That the mic is important, but no, I didn't even turn the mic on. That's why this is such an underwatched and professional YouTube podcast. Not how to lose weight. We're not talking about how to lose weight, and we're actually going to Sky News of all places. Sky News, one of the worst news services out there, the Fox News of Australia. Ukraine, see, and this is part of the reason why. Look at this ad that's right up there at the top, trying to get you to calculate how much walking you should do. You should walk more. Look, you should walk more in order to be healthy, regardless of whether it's weight. You should walk potentially with a weight. So, like, put a backpack on and just put a bottle of water in there. Nothing much. Doesn't have to be much. Put a bottle of water and a jumper in there. Go for a walk. Don't walk on entirely flat surfaces. Walk on some uneven ground at times. Flat's pretty good. And don't wear super cushion shoes. There you go. It's that simple. You might not lose weight, but it's for weight. But if it's for health and general health, that's going to do it. If you want to lose weight, eat less. And eat real food. It's that simple. Eat fruit and veg, meat, maybe some bread. Don't eat sugar. Don't eat ice creams. Don't eat all the things that I've been eating recently. Don't eat pizza, burgers, all that kind of stuff. Just eat meat, veg, and drink water, and go for a walk, and you're fine. You don't need to go to a website to calculate how much weight you should lose. Anyway, back to our regular programming. I'm probably a little bit annoyed at myself at the moment, because even though I did go for some good walks recently in the last couple of days with the dogs, I've also eaten a bunch of service station, petrol station, gas station food, and a lot of sugar. I've eaten a lot of sugar in the last couple of days, and it's just a sweet tooth. It's not munchies or anything. It just goes to show that when I've got the munchies, I'm not that much worse than when I've not got the munchies. And I'm sorry, I'm probably a bit annoyed at myself at the moment, because middle age has gotten me getting quite fat, and I'm not doing it enough to combat that. So that's where that aggression came from. Anyway, back to depressing news stories. Out of Europe, Ukraine war, the latest from the Ukraine war. New intelligence puts number of Russian soldiers killed during war. Oh, puts number on Russian soldiers. That didn't make sense for a second there. So 500,000 Russian soldiers have been killed since the Ukraine war began, according to a UK spy chief. I don't know which one of these people is the spy chief. Deborah Haynes' analysis as UK spy chief, blah, 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 blah. So, there's nothing different than what we already really know about these kind of things. We know that we know that all war, no matter who is at war, the bosses involved try to diminish their losses and try to say, no, it's not that bad. We definitely lost people. It's terrible, but it's not that bad. And we know that that's bullshit. We always know that there's probably more losses than really are acceptable. We know that the returning soldiers are usually more damaged and broken than they should have been. And when they come back, they are a shell of their self than what they should have been. We know war is destructive and terrible and bad, and no matter what, leaders try to say, no, it was necessary, we had to do it. It's bad, but it was necessary, that kind of stuff. And Putin, I feel like I'm doing a lot of Putin lately, spoke about, or is getting into, not trouble as such, but is getting into a problem where even his own country is saying, dude, what the hell? What have we achieved? We've lost all this stuff and nothing's been achieved. That's why they always make it as though the other guys are the bad, terrible people, and we're defending ourselves, we're defending democracy, all that kind of stuff. Because no one, as much as everyone during World War II was like, oh, it's terrible that we've lost soldiers, everyone was like, but it was worth it. And you look at wars that have happened in Afghanistan, and especially from an Australian perspective, Afghanistan, and now Iran, if we get pulled further into that, because we're already sort of part of it, and all of them, Vietnam, Korea, everything. We're like, are we really defending democracy? What's the real purpose of these wars? Why are we really doing this? Because we're losing people for no goddamn good reason. And Putin's now at 500,000, apparently, and he's gotten nothing, pretty much. There's nothing. He's only made it worse for Russia by trying to make it better for Russia by going to war. And it just seems very, very counterproductive to do that kind of thing. I find war fascinating and all the technical aspects of it. And when you've got a clear-cut bad guy, fine. But most of the time, war is pretty stupid. And what's happening in Ukraine is just a perfect example of that. Something that's not stupid, though, is public art. Here's some public art I found yesterday. Let's cross to me in the field yesterday. Who needs fancy art galleries and rich people transferring wealth by buying elaborate pieces of art when you've got public works? Dick on tree. You wouldn't believe it, but these art posts or videos that I've made yesterday, not only have they made me laugh far too many times, I think I'm hilarious. I make myself laugh so much with these videos, but they've been some of my most successful ones on YouTube. So I'm hitting a what is it when you hit a thing? I'm hitting something that the people like. But what goes through someone's mind when they're like, I'm going to spray paint a dick onto that tree? What is the what is the thought process there? I just don't get it. And I genuinely would love to treat it like a fancy piece of art and get the art person who did it and go, what were you thinking? Were you, and then again they go, do you know why you went for this height? Because it was like almost from my hips to my shoulders. And it's a couple of feet, and it's the angle and it just, yeah. I sort of understand tagging buildings and stuff because they're like, check it out, my tag, blah, 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 it's me and stuff. But this is just an uncredited dick on a tree. It's so funny because the little dick drawing is such a classic amongst all society. And it's not, I mean, I don't think it's offensive. I think it's just a silly dick. But it's just funny. I find it funny. And I know the ones, whenever I do it, it's always a very comically short, silly one. It's certainly not as phallic as that one, and big and offensive. The dick on a tree. It's fantastic. I'll be interested to see if it's still there in days to come, because I can't imagine. What are they going? They can't wash it off. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about some censorship and infighting between companies. CBS Mornings skipped Late Show finale coverage over Colbert's Tony something Barry Weiss joke. CBS News president Tom Kibrowski reportedly found the segment on Decouples Chinese visa snafu unprofessional. It's very interesting because it's a comedy show, and there has to be limits to comedy, doesn't there? Like, there has to be a certain amount of no, you can't make fun of that. You can't. It's that whole thing of hitting down or hitting up, or punching down, punching up, and I just, as much as, like, I never watched The Late Show. I never watched any version of The Late Show. I've watched a couple of episodes. I watched segments, some interviews, and bits and pieces. But Colbert was never one for really punching down. He was always pretty okay with punching himself and punching up. And even though I disagree with him on religious beliefs, the guy always seemed to have a pretty darn good moral compass in terms of where the humor went and what he did with it. And so I didn't see the segment, but the fact that CBS Mornings is on the same network, and you can imagine that somebody got in somebody's ear and said, don't even report on the finale, And then they said, oh, it was because of a joke that we thought was tasteless. You know what I mean? Soft skin or thin skinned snowflakes, that kind of stuff. It's just very coincidental that they would do it at a time when this kind of happens and stuff like that. It's somewhat concerning that our media, and I think Australian media is just the same. Like it's very American to talk about this at the moment, but I do think it's a potentially common thing no matter where you are. We've always had people in power silencing media and saying, don't report on this, don't mention this, don't talk about this, blah, blah, blah. And so I think it feels like one of those things where people, for some reason, somebody got their knickers in a twist about Stephen Colbert and they've just been shitting and crapping on him for months now, to the point where he shows off the air. But the funny thing is, it's like the Streisand effect. He's gotten so much coverage out of this. And as long as he continues to tread that moral line where he is morally above them, he's probably going to do okay. Given the support that he's got from so many other people, it's likely that he's going to fall on his feet. He literally could almost go anywhere at the moment. He was on, I think it was Seth Meyers, and got asked, are you going to run for politics? And he didn't say no. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. I'm not sure it would be a good idea, but he could certainly endorse some people and put some weight behind somebody. As a fan of YouTube, I think he should just go to YouTube. He should just go independent. He would have to have a much smaller staff and it would have to do things in a much smaller way. But when you can have the kind of setup I've got and have a fairly professional looking show, like if he had some proper lights and a proper studio, he wouldn't need much more than a few iPads and a few iPhones. You know what I mean? Like the quality these days and the technology is not a prevention from being able to do these kind of things. And he's already got the reputation because he's been building it for decades now. And he could pretty much do whatever he wanted. Especially because he could get sponsorships. I can't get sponsorships. I can't get anyone to come on this show or do anything on this show. I'm waiting until I get at least a number of more supporters and more viewers before I can actually ask people to come on this show and stuff. And still learning and still getting the hang of it and forcing myself to do an episode when I'm not feeling that great. Whereas he's done all that. He's decades ahead. And he's got the potential to do whatever he wants. And good on him, and he should. Because as I've said before, I don't agree with him on his religious beliefs, but I like the guy. I like him. And he does good stuff. As I said, he doesn't punch down. He usually is punching up. And he's open to debate and to discussion. And he seems to have some really good things. And I love that he's a Tolkien nerd. So, yeah, good luck to him. And this just seems like media bias and censorship. And it's crazy to see it happening. It's fascinating. I don't like talking about America all the time, even though I do, because it's so in our news feed and we use American things all the time, like American social media. But it's fascinating to watch it from an outsider perspective and see this happening, to see 1984 coming to fruition and coming true in the United States at the moment. It's absolutely crazy, and good luck to everyone that's there. I asked a comment on a post on I think it was an Instagram the other day, where I said, is America as dystopian as it appears? It looks like it's super dystopian at the moment. And a lot of people said yes. I don't know if that's fully the case, because I have other American feeds and stuff that don't post about that kind of stuff, but it seems to be pretty dystopian and crazy over there. So good luck to everyone over in the United States, and good luck to anyone that's in media over there, because it looks like things are just getting worse. You got to hope that the administration doesn't get worse, even though there's still more than 2 years to go until there's a vote, and there's been talk of trying to overthrow that vote anyway. But let's look at some more art from the Rye foreshore. I'm here with another piece of public art, artist unknown, that really adds to the natural landscape and improves everything that we get from public spaces. I believe this is called Dog Shit Bag on Branch. Fantastic modern art there. Why do people do that? Somebody commented saying something along the lines of classic dog owner behavior. And I'm like, I have never once picked up dog poo and then put it in a bag and then put the bag into a tree or into shrubbery. I have many times picked up dog poo with leaves and bark and stuff and then thrown it into bushes, because it takes a couple of weeks for it to break down to the point of it being inoffensive, and then it would take maybe a month for it to break down to the point where you wouldn't even notice it. So I've got no problem with throwing dog poo into bushes and shrubs and garden beds and stuff like that. I have dog poo all over my backyard, and it literally just takes a bit of time and it's gone. You don't put it all in one spot, you let it break down. People talk about how you don't see white dog poo anymore. And it's because everyone's picking it up. And that's fine. That's good. In a public space, for instance, Doctor, one of my dogs, has decided recently that she'll poo right after we've left the house on the neighbour's front lawn across the road from home. Like, I'm talking across the road. She could have just done it on the grass at our house, but she literally chose to do it. And it's 2 days in a row she's done it across the road. And I'm like, what are you doing? So I have to go pick it up, because that's rude to leave it on the nature strip or the front yard of your neighbour's house. That's the kind of spot, middle of the pathway, public spaces, all that kind of stuff. I remember one time we were at a cricket oval, footy oval, local oval, and a guy wasn't paying attention and his dog shat in the middle of the cricket pitch, or in the middle of the outfield. And I was like, dude, come on. I've got no problem with dog poo being around and being in places, but you can't just do that. People are going to try and play sport here. You dive for a catch and all of a sudden you've got a face full of shit. So you can't do that. But the reason we don't see it anymore is because people are picking it up. And I don't understand, like, especially this. This was in the middle of nowhere in terms of shrubberies and stuff. Like, it almost felt deliberate, this. It wasn't, like, at least sometimes you see it and it's in a bush on a branch, and you go, okay, well, they've thrown it into the bushes. But then it's like, dude, the plastic. You've put it in a plastic bag. The plastic bag's going to take ages to break down compared to the shit. You'd be much better to just throw the shit in there. I don't get it. I, as a dog owner, don't think that it's acceptable to hang dog shit in bags from branches. But I do think it's funny thinking of it as modern art. Something that's not funny. Lawyer says tourist accused of hurling rock at Hawaiian monk seal has been doxxed and threatened. Well, you shouldn't have done it in the first place, should you? Igor Levichuk. I've got no idea on the pronunciation of his last name. I'm just going to call him Igor. 38, of Covington, Washington, is scheduled to appear in a U.S. District Court in Honolulu Wednesday on charges of harassing and attempting to harass a protected animal. Now, if you've been on the internet, you've probably seen the video where he's throwing a rock at the animal. The defense attorney for a tourist from Washington State accused of hurling a coconut-sized rock at an endangered Hawaiian monk seal says his client was trying to protect sea turtles and has since been physically assaulted, threatened, and doxxed. So, the gist of it is, the lawyer is saying that what he was doing as a fisherman who's used to tiger seals or tiger I can't remember. It's another seal. Sea lion. He thought so. He's the lawyer said that this guy's a fisherman and he's familiar with aggressive sea lions and sea turtles, and he thought that the monk seal was harassing / attacking the turtles, and so he was trying to distract it and trying to get it to piss off, leave those turtles alone, that kind of stuff. Now that brings up questions of how much should we interfere in nature, or should we just allow nature to take its thing? Should you allow penguins to fall off a ice cliff? Should you allow crocodiles to eat zebras that are going through, trying to cross a river, etc., etc.? The thing is, unfortunately, for this, and the lawyer then said that he's been harassed and assaulted and even had apparently feces sent to him in the mail and all this abuse and all this other stuff. The problem is with that argument, mate, is that there's a video of him doing it, and then he turns when someone has a go at him for it, and he says, "I'm rich, I've got the money to pay the fine." And it's like, that doesn't make it sound like you were trying to protect the sea lion. Now, or the turtles. Now, you could say that, yes, he's aware that what he's doing may come bad, but he is prepared to pay the fine in order to protect the sea turtles. But it doesn't. It sounds like the lawyer's trying to be a lawyer and trying to do a Swiftie and make it seem like he's a better person than he is, because it really just appeared that he was a bit of a dick. And it turns out that the animals are protected, so much so that they actually were able to identify the seal that he was going for as R404. So the Daily Freakout sends all its best wishes to R404 and their family. What a great name. R404. Obviously they can't just call him Barry or anything, but R404, I hope, has made a speedy recovery and is doing okay. Can you imagine him back at the rocks later going, some human was throwing rocks at me today. Narrowly missed. Just came flying in and I was, Anyway. And here we have a piece right outside the Rye Yacht Club, commenting most likely on the fragility of youth and life. Again, artist unknown, title technically unknown, but I would call this Young Lady's Purse in Tree. I wish I understood my technology better as to why that wasn't in super portrait mode like the other videos, because they're all in super portrait mode, but for some reason that one didn't play that way. Anyway, I found it amusing that this purse, which still had a couple of things in it, was on a branch, but it was like down a branch as well. It had been put down further. So some poor girl's lost her nice looking purse. I don't know whether it was expensive or not, on the beach, I assume at night, and someone's put it up on a tree for her. So hopefully she finds that and can go get it and it's hopefully not too damaged and she can use it again. If you've made it all this way, you are one of the absolute elites, and you may be the very first person to make it to the end of a Daily Freakout. So thank you so much. And if you would like to, you can send me an email at bobbyfreakout@gmail.com and you can have this record, Chaz and Dave's Knees Up, Jamboree Bag number 2. We won't be playing any of it just now, though, because I don't feel like it. I will see you tomorrow for the Friday edition of the Daily Freakout. This has been the Daily Freakout for the Thursday, the 28th of May, 2026. My name's Bobby Freakout. Goodbye.